Hello again, Internet. Hello again, TG readers, Music Radar and YouTube, and, well, generally wherever you're watching us from. My name's Chris Bird. I'm from TG, Total Guitar, and this is Steve Allsworth, long-time contributor to the magazine. Today we're going to be looking at sweep picking. We've polled our readers on Facebook and Twitter, and sweep picking seems to be, Steve, the biggest area of technical difficulty.
It's hard.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
So lots of people wanting to know how to do it, how to get into it, and I guess lots of people encountering technical problems in doing so. So let's start by breaking down the basic technique, shall we?
I think, probably the most difficult aspect of doing any sweep picking exercise, whatever that is, whether it's 5, 6 strings or 3 strings, is the note separation. You know, what we often refer to as note bleed is the thing to avoid at all possible costs. So, you know, typically, I don't know, for example, let's say just like a D minor 7, or even just a D minor, we'll just play that one. So it's based on a D minor chord. So this is one that a lot of students will often start with. So often you'll get the mistake where you'll get the sweep right, where you're just going down, 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 but you can obviously hear that note bleed.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't sound that terrible because I've not got masses of distortion on my sound at the moment. But what we really want to do is have that note separation. So the idea being that you're essentially going from one string to the other, and as soon as you go from adjacent string to adjacent string, is that you get that note separation. And that's really the idea. And another thing I see quite a lot as well with down up sweep picking is that they're kind of separate movements. Really, the idea is that it's one continuous movement. It's just flow. So you're not sort of going down and then another down and then another down.
So at that point, we're talking about pick hand control and finding the perfect position.
Well, that's what's so tricky about this, because you need to develop the coordination between these two hands. You know, I would say probably the best place to start with this is just to do that. Just make sure you can do that. Play that. Forget about the left hand or the fret hand. Just make sure you can do that in one continuous movement, almost as if you're strumming through a chord.
And then I guess it's just a gradual process of slowing that down.
You just slow it right down, and then you can start. Like that, and just make sure you can get that separation without that note bleed kind of thing. And often where this goes wrong is that the coordination's wrong, so you'll get like that. You'll kind of you'll sort of cut off notes, or you'll get bleed or whatever. And then I think probably that would probably be the first step. I mean, I think that's probably one of the first ones I ever did.
The point at which you're muting out the strings is the point at which you need to slow it down, though, isn't it? It's like you're probably accelerating your progress too quickly.
Yeah, it's usually this hand that goes too fast. Right. And this one hasn't quite caught up.
Yeah.
In my experience, I think that's usually what happens. So maybe just take a few shapes to begin with. In fact, I tell you what we should probably do is just maybe think about the opposite direction as well.
I think so, yeah.
If you take that one step further, I think rather than trying to do, just go through all strings or whatever, or even all 3 strings, is just maybe just start with a down and just start with that minor 7. So we'll hit the C on the top, so that'll be the flat 7. But in this case, what we'll try and do is do it with an up pick. We're changing direction. So you'll notice it's a triplet. So we're going
1 and a 2.
Yeah, 1 and a 2, exactly. And it just means just doing that. A lot of repetitive practice.
That's guitar playing.
What do they say? 1,000 times or 10,000 times to get something correct?
Yeah, I believe
serious amounts of repetition.
That's right.
So that I would say that's probably the easiest one to start with.
Yeah. Simply
because you're using separate fingers.
Yeah.
I think when it gets more difficult is that you're starting to do this rolling rubber stamp motion. You know, for example, like the minor. The issue that a lot of students have a problem with there is that, again, how do you get that note separation without the bleed? Yeah. You don't want to do that.
Sounds like a chord, doesn't it?
Exactly. The idea being that when I say a rubber stamp, I'm thinking about one of those old-fashioned kind of library stamps.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so you're kind of going from this position. So if you kind of look at that, I'm super exaggerating here, but you'll start. So you'll sort of, it's quite hard to do really slowly actually, but you're kind of rolling
You're making
through.
a really big motion there. It's
Yeah.
actually really small, isn't it?
It's more like that.
Barely a movement. Yeah.
And again, I'm just changing direction at the top to put that upstroke in. I mean, in that case, it's just a little 3-string, but you sort of got to take this in gradual sort of steps, gradual kind of increments. You know,
Yeah.
kind of, okay, well, that's that sort of second
yeah,
issue.
so to build that into a practice schedule, you might want to do your D minor. I'll turn my guitar up.
Yeah.
So you might want to be doing that for quite a while.
And to metronome as well, all
To
this stuff, you've got to
metronome.
be, you've got to have a lot of discipline with this kind of thing. If you just
Yes.
sat there going, but you've got no reference. But if you've, let's say you've got a metronome, which is my foot, you're going, I'm using that C as the target note in this
Sure.
case. Da-ga-da-gat, 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 da-ga-da-gat. And then, you can do that with the minor shape, etc. So you can kind of just, gradually get that together. And if that's too fast, slow it down. But I tend to find, strangely, these type of things are easier when you speed them up a
There's
little
kind
bit.
of an optimal speed, isn't it? Rather than trying to da.
Yeah, exactly.
It's too slow, and you don't get the flow of the pick motion.
Exactly, yeah.
It's kind of like too slow ends up being separate pick strokes. You need the option to just rake through, as it were.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it takes a lot. And this, this is just, we're just dealing with down.
Indeed.
At the moment. I think up is completely different. What you'll find is the motion kind of gets more like that sort of flow. So if we perhaps just take this one step further, I mean, the typical kind of neoclassical is your A minor shape. This would be a 5-string. So that's over 5 strings. So we're just going root, minor third, fifth, root, minor third, fifth, right?
Yeah.
So the down one, this is where it gets slightly more tricky. So this is taking it sort of a few steps further along, if you like.
Yes.
We've only dealt there with 3 fingers, easy peasy, plus a 4th finger there if you want to extend that pattern. But when you're dealing with sort of 4 strings, 5 strings, you're obviously going to run out of fingers. So you'll find you're reusing one finger in several different places. In fact, maybe just to roll back a step, you could even just try doing that in this position. So if we take an F major chord, or even the D minor 7, that shape. So instead of going from the D, we'll go from the C, which is the old Woody Woodpecker, that kind of thing. But the idea being is that you're reusing that first finger. So you're kind of having to it's quite a physical. You have to jump over. Yeah, you've got to really push that over.
And as you've already said, if the fret hand tends to lag behind a bit anyway, once you're starting to employ finger jumps as well, that's gonna
exactly. Yeah. So you can try that forwards and backwards. I mean, the thing is, when you're doing this type of thing, legato is really your friend with this type of thing. You don't want to be picking like that. You want to be doing a pull off down if you're going the opposite direction. So up. So you're down, pull off, up, up. That type of thing. And this is where, when you do that, so you've got the up, and then the upstroke coming, and that downward motion through there. And that is sort of taking that a step further, because what that means is you're reusing that second finger there. And that takes a little bit of practice to sort of get that
kind of needs
together.
work on that hand first before you approach.
But you could even just try that with a 3-string.
Yeah.
Just do that part. In which case, there we're using the first finger instead.
Yeah, absolutely.
In 2 different positions, you go that kind of, and you could kind of extend that pattern and kind of use it as part of a, that kind of.
So
it's part of a kind of minor pentatonic type thing or whatever,
So it strikes me that a lot of people might be having the problem of attacking patterns like that and perhaps thinking it's a pick hand issue.
Yeah,
when it's
often this hand
possibly going too far ahead with the fret hand, and that maybe taking a step back to the simpler shapes that you started with, the 3-string shapes and such, might help them get the picking in order.
Definitely.
Because they're not worried about getting the fret hand.
Well, you could even just completely separate that as well. We were just going...
Yes.
Just doing that. You could do the same thing with the left hand as well. So if you take that... So if you did that shape... Make sure you can do that with hammer on.
If you can't do the arpeggio, then let's face it, you're not going to be able to pick it.
Exactly.
is the
So,
bottom line.
you know, deal with that shape first, because what the left hand tends to be, guitarists, we're all really lazy. So the left hand can be really lazy. You'll put all your effort into that right hand, and the left hand's actually not doing anything. So I'd say that's probably a good thing. So I'm only doing that. It's not to look ridiculous. It's just to mute those strings. You can put a hairband over there or whatever. So it's just getting that together so you've got no strings going through and stuff. But maybe just practice even that first shape that we had there. Just practice, you know, just practice just doing the hams.
I think that is it, isn't
That
it?
type of thing. Just make sure
if
you can just
haven't
do
got
that.
the fret hand part down, you're never going to get picking in time with it, no matter.
Yeah.
Even if you've theoretically got your pick sorted.
Yeah.
If your fretting's out of time, it's.
I think it's always always
all
about
gone.
sort of breaking bits down.
It is,
you know,
isn't it?
into smaller sort of bite-sized chunks.
Learn
really.
the
That's-
arpeggios.
Yeah.
Get an approach to picking with it. Perhaps.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well is just to, you know, with sweep picking, I know it comes up a lot. It's not just a metal thing.
No.
As you know, it's, you know, we always think, oh, sweep arpeggios are neoclassical, Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's been used in blues for years, you know, but strangely it's called a rake generally in a lot of blues stuff.
Yeah.
You get this one all the time. It's the old Mark Knopfler one, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know? You get that kind of thing, and that one. You get those backwards. And that rake is there. You know, based, you know, on A minor pentatonic or whatever. So you can put it into things which aren't necessarily, you know, what we kind of typically think of as sort of sweep picking shred or whatever.
Sure.
It has got its uses in other places as well. So I don't know if that answers the question. I've
I
kind of
think it
forgotten the
does,
question,
yeah.
but yeah.
Well, I think we had so many readers into the idea of doing sweep picking, but I think it's just something that everyone struggles with getting started with, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So,
Well, those 3-string shapes, they're the ones I would definitely start off with first. Start with the down, just make sure you get the one, because the upstroke one tends to be the one and then connecting the two together.
takes us on to another issue, actually, and that's
Yeah.
changing direction. So you're doing an up and a down in a single kind of arpeggio, as it were.
Well, maybe just a little kind of pentatonic-y type thing. And again, this is not going to sound pentatonic-y just by virtue of the fact that you're doing it as a sweep.
Yeah.
If we start there with the E, hammer onto the G, we're just going to go all the way through there. So we've got E, G, A, C, and then E on the top.
Yeah.
What it basically is A minor 7. Now this is a really good exercise, this one, because what you're basically doing is combining legato, but then you're having to change direction as well.
Sure.
So you'll get a hammer on at the bottom, and then you'll get the down, then the up pick at the top, where you change of direction, pull off, up, and then change direction. So you get that. You can get this kind of continuous string, you know, whatever. That kind of thing. So you can kind of, you know, get that sort of change of direction, which is quite useful. And just as well, because I'm not using the kind of standardised minor major shapes, it makes it sound a little bit more different as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Just kind of pentatonic notes. It just kind of makes it sound a bit more interesting.
And I suppose it's key that you're doing the upstroke on the top notes. I didn't see what shape you were using.
So
but if you're hitting the top E
yeah.
there,
So rather than a down pick on that, which you
making
might
sure you hit
ordinarily
that
do,
with the
if you
upstroke.
change direction there, pull off, and you're already in position to play the next note on the next string, rather than doing down, which you wouldn't do, which would be a double
moving
pick.
away. Yeah.
So if you do that reverse pick, it's almost like an alternate pick on the top, and then it automatically reverses you. You know. Up, down, up. You can do it down there as well. Remember that shape we had before? It's that same thing. Down, up, down. And again, that's just based around that D minor shape, D minor 7 or whatever. It's quite a useful thing to get together. But just that adding that legato kind of helps change direction a little bit.
Cool. Well, I hope that's enough to get you started with sweep picking, and we'll see you next time.